Welcome back. What is a lambda function? A lambda function is a one-line function, one expression. It can take any number of arguments. The syntax is function equals lambda, argument, colon, and the expression. This lambda expression can include for loop or if condition. So let's start our first example now. We have a variable square area equals lambda, our lambda. Use the argument x, insert the colon, and introduce the expression. The expression is x to the power of 2, which means square the argument x and assign it to the variable square area. So let's here print our square area with the value of, say, 5. And let's have our run here. It prints 25. If we have instead of this 5, 6, and have a run, we expect 36. We can even use instead of one argument x, 2 arguments, say x and y. So let's now compute the area of a rectangle. So we have a variable rectangle underscore area equals our function lambda, 2 variables x comma y, one for the width and the other for the height, with our expression x multiplied by y. And let's have our print. So we print the rectangle area with the values, say, 5, 9. And let's have a run here. It gives 45, 5 multiplied by 9. We can also have string arguments. So let's have here students equals our lambda function. And let's add 2 students as strings. So let's have student1 underscore 1, comma, another argument, let's say student2. Let's have student underscore 2 here. We have our colon, introduce the expression which will give student1 plus student2. So let's here have student1 plus and have a string end, another plus, and have our student2 here. And let's have a space after end. Let's print now students having 2 strings. So we have here print students with Sandy, comma, Sue, corresponding for student1 and student2. And of course, Sandy and Sue, each of them must be between quotations because they are strings. Having our run, it prints Sandy and Sue. Having a space here before the A of n, it will give a better print. Let's now introduce the lambda function over a list. So let's comment this. And let's have a variable, a list 10, 20, and 15. We need a lambda function that multiplies each of these elements with 2. So let's have a new variable, new list equals our lambda function, the argument x, the colon, and our expression between brackets, x multiplied by 2, for x in data 1, for x in data 1, which means for each element of x in the list data1 here, just multiply by 2 and assign it to an list. New list is a function, so let's make sure we print the type here. So print type of the new list. Let's have our print. It gives function here. We need a list for these elements multiplied by 2. So let's have here a new variable called result equals a list of the function new list with a parameter data1. And let's now print the result. So we have print result. Let's have our run here. It prints each element of data1 multiplied by 2. Instead of this list, let's try having a tuple. And it gives the output in the form of a tuple. Let's now introduce the if condition here. So for every element in data1 multiplied by 2, if our x is greater than, say, 11, and therefore we expect 20 and 15 only to be multiplied by 2. And let's have our run here. Yes, only 20 and 15 were operated on here. So let's remove for x in data1 to insert it at the end. And let's have here our code x multiplied by 2 if x greater than 11, else x multiplied by 100. And let's here have for x in data 1. Let's have our run here. This is the output. We can even operate over a list of tuples. So let's have data 1 here to be a list of tuples. Our list of tuples data 1 here. Let's have our lambda function now. What we really need to do is to add every 2 elements in each tuple and have a new tuple of them. So let's have here our lambda function operating over data1. So let's here have data1, our colon, and the expression x plus y. So let's have here x plus y for x comma y in data1. Let's have all of this to be between brackets. Let's call this variable sum1 just to have a clearer syntax. So we have sum1 here. And let's have our run. It prints a tuple, the required tuple, with 1 plus 2, 3, which means that our function sum1 was operated correctly. 3 plus 4, where 3 is the x and 4 is the y. Looping over data1. So we have 7 here. The sum of those 2 elements here is 11. Please note that we can't use here x comma y. Let's try it and see the error. It gives an error. We must operate over data1. Let's try having our lambda function with a dictionary. So we have my dict with 3 pairs, each pair a key and a value. We want to create a tuple containing all these values multiplied by 2. So let's have our lambda function here, dictionary multiplied by 2. So let's have dict, underscore m underscore 2 for dictionary multiplied by 2 equals our lambda function with an argument, say z, and have our brackets here for the expression. Let's have the keys to be x and the values to be y. So let's write here, we need every y to be multiplied by 2 for x comma y to refer to the whole item of the dictionary in z dot items. So we have here in the argument z dot items and have our empty brackets here. Let's have the result in the form of a tuple, so equals tuple. Between our brackets have our function dictionary multiplied by 2 operating over my dict. Finally, let's print the result. So we have here print result. Have our run. Yes, each value is multiplied by 2. Let's now have every key to be capitalized. So instead of y multiplied by 2, let's have x dot capitalize. Of course, we have our empty brackets here. And let's name this dict.c for dictionary.capitalize. And let's now have a result equals create a tuple using the function capitalize, so dict capitalize, operating over my dict. Let's finally print this result. So we have our semicolon and print result. Let's have our run here. Yes, it capitalizes all keys. To have the output in the form of a dictionary, we need to introduce the whole item to the lambda function. Here we introduced only the key. So let's have here between brackets the key, comma, value. And let's have here the output in the dictionary form, so write dict. Let's try now to have our run. Yes, it has the dictionary form, keys and values. This concludes with our lambda function. It's a one-line function with the syntax, the variable expressing the function equals lambda argument colon and introduce the expression, which may be extended to include for loop or and if condition.